motogo ka bile o fodile o bona.
Starting to get thick. Do you guys remember this magazine? Bramis.
2018.
Do you guys also remember this? I'm about to listen to Jeff 2. Is it Jeff 2 or
Yeah,
I think Jeff 2. That's about it. So I'm just.
If you're not using AI tools right now, you should be worried about.
Yesterday we tried to scan this. It's right.
They're just going to make better
2
content,
pages.
funnier content, more
2
engaging
pages are
content,
on.
cheaper and faster.
That's
we were about
Jeff
to
Su, former Google employee
some
turned
breakfast.
full-time creator, educator, and one of the sharpest minds in
Then
the
I
AI
get in my
productivity
mouth.
space.
He's built a
After
reputation
washing
for
my
making
face,
AI
then I
actually
would come
click with prompts that are practical,
to start
systems at
posting.
scale.
And workflows that give
December.
brands and creators a real edge in today's content economy.
But one of the best techniques I've ever come across is the reverse prompt technique. You end the conversation with reverse engineer a conversation and write the single prompt that would have produced my final response in one go.
In a world where AI headlines breed panic and overwhelm, Jeff's approach is different.
His method is all about helping creators use AI as a true creative partner.
That's what I recommend all beginners do. Ask AI to improve your prompt, read through the prompt, do this 10 times a day. You're going to be better than 99% of people.
In this episode, Jeff breaks down how to actually use AI to scale your content and your business without losing your voice along the way.
You're going to come out of this episode with a new perspective on AI and how to make it your unfair advantage. Let's get into it. Jeff, if you're sitting across from a creator right now, they hear the word AI, they think it's coming for their jobs, they see it as a threat. How can they actually use it as a tool for creativity to help their workflow? What would you say to them?
If I were feeling a bit cheeky that day, I'd probably say that if an AI chatbot with its current capabilities can replace everything they're doing right now, they're probably not doing it right. But if I were feeling less like an asshole, I'd probably start off by asking them a bunch of questions like why they're worried, right? Because that's my consultant brain sort of like working to figure out what exactly they're worried about and sort of try to address that underlying issue. For example, I know for a fact there's so much hype and BS out there right now, and that's driving a lot of the fear, I think, for these creators. They see the headlines, they're like, oh my God, like AI is coming for my like creative sort of production, right? But nothing in the data shows that to be the case if you're actually worried about AI generating content performing better than yours. Because if you think about the platforms like YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, they don't care if the content's AI generated. They're optimized for like engagement and attention, right? So they just want the best available content to make us all be addicted to those platforms. So if that were the case and AI generated content is great, all of that content should be like surface to the top right now. But that's simply not the case, right? There are no massive creators who are just pure AI generated. That being said, I would tell them, if you're not using AI tools right now, you should be worried about creators who have embedded AI into their workflows. Not because the end product is going to be that much better, but they're just going to make better content, funnier content, more engaging content, cheaper and faster. So over the long term, you're going to sort of lose out just because of competitive disadvantages. Right. So that's basically what I would honestly tell them.
So what is that BS? What is the bullshit that people are saying nowadays that's really scaring people? It's people basically saying that, I feel like if you were to go on the internet, people are saying, oh, there's going to be these AI avatars, and if you're not using AI, like, you're just cooked. So you don't think that's actually the case?
No, definitely not. So right now, I think there are a couple of things to break down here. Number one, I just don't think the technology is there yet. It's AI avatars, for example, right? Yeah, it's semi-realistic, but you can't go, it's pretty obvious to most users if you have like an 8-minute AR avatar video, right? The inflection, the voices, audio, inflection not gonna be there, the facial expression and whatnot, there's just no connection. But let's take it to the extreme. Let's say in the future, AI content takes over. I am positive there's gonna be still a massive audience for creators and content that are anti-AI, who's like, I refuse to put AI in any of my stuff, so that's why I'm authentically human. The market's big enough whereby those creators will do just fine. So
like the Van Nystats of the world, they're not going anywhere. That handmade, like you can really feel that someone put so much time and energy behind a shot or a video. That's not going anywhere.
Exactly.
I think it's just easy to get into like the doom state.
Well, that's 99% of the video. I mean, that gets people to click, man.
And I you know, it's funny. I forgot who it was we were talking to about this, but they said there's animated movies and then there's real life movies and there's a place for both. But I think that people get so scared because of like how fast AI is changing that they think, oh, the real content is just going to be gone and it's just going to be a bunch of AI slop, which is not actually the case. And I think that puts everybody's guard down a little bit because it's like it can feel really like scary.
For sure. I mean, I don't want to jump ahead of myself right now, but if you just go through your own TikTok feed or Instagram Reel feed, there you will see AI generated content and you feel differently about different types of AI generated content.
Yeah.
If there is a really good deepfake video designed to trick you or try to manipulate you, you're like, fuck that, I hate that. I don't want that at all. But if it's like a shittily created AI content, but it's hilarious, like a meme, right? You're like, that's hilarious. I love it. Keep giving me those, right? So it's not universally bad.
Yes.
That's what I'm trying to
This
say.
thing is hot.
And you used AI quite heavily at your job at Google, and you
Yeah.
use AI quite a bit as an AI YouTuber and creator. What were the similarities, or what are the similarities, and what are the differences using AI at your job at Google versus what you do now?
For sure. I'll be very honest, and this is, I think, the answer most people would not expect. It hasn't really changed. The way I use AI hasn't really changed, because I think the power of AI comes from integrating AI into systems and workflows. And that's the same anywhere, either as a full-time corporate employee, a content creator, or even a freelancer, right? So for example, at Google, I had Gemini gems that literally were trained on presentations from McKinsey, Bain, and BCG, and it helped me produce really good slide decks from brainstorm to outline to refinement, right?
What is Gemini Gem?
Good question. So Gemini Gem is basically the answer to custom GPTs. And custom GPTs is whereby you can create a basic AI assistant with system instructions and knowledge files, whereby you can tell the AI assistant, hey, base all your answers and work on those knowledge files. So in a Gemini Gem, I've uploaded, let's say, 4 to 5 presentations from McKinsey, Bain, BCG. So it understands that it needs to analyze and deconstruct what makes those presentations effective and apply those principles to my outline, right? So let's say there's a Gemini Gem trained on those presentations. Here's the outline for my presentation, sort of optimize my outline
Based off of these.
based off of those. There you go. So there's actually a series of Gemini Gems that help me do, like, perform different tasks, like from brainstorming to outline to refinement.
So you're training these different systems for very specific things.
Exactly.
So you'd have one for slide decks, you'd have one for scripting, one for something else. Is that correct?
Exactly. So as a YouTube content creator, I have custom GPTs, cloud projects, Gemini Gems that help me output LinkedIn posts, Instagram Reels, YouTube video scripts consistently in my tone of voice. So again, the system stays the same. The features might be different. This is going to sound silly, but an analogy I like to give is it's like asking me, oh, how to use Google Sheets differently after you leave Google. It's the exact same way, it's just the data set's different. Instead of corporate revenue data, maximizing shareholder value, we are now analyzing YouTube analytics data, right? So even though the features and the formulas I use are different, these steps are the same. Number one, you clean the raw data. Number two, you generate hypotheses based on what you see in the clean data. Number three, you test those hypotheses. That does not change. If we really want to split hairs, I'd say I'm able to use more tools now that I'm a content creator and not limited to just Google powered AI tools, if that makes sense, because you're not allowed to use ChatGPT or Claude working at Google, right?
Fair.
But it was frustrating because, let's say, I know for a fact Claude's better at editing and copywriting. It's kind of annoying not to be able to use the best in class tool for a specific task when you know it's available.
Okay, so you've brought up Gemini, which is Google. You've brought up Claude, and you've brought up ChatGPT.
Claude's Anthropic, right?
Yes, yes, exactly.
Are those the three main AI platforms that you use in your workflow?
100%. So I guess taking a step back, I use those three for completely different purposes, though.
Can we go through what?
Yeah, what's
you
each
use?
one used for?
For sure. So actually, let me answer this in two parts. So the first part is I use those three
Hi guys, I'm listening to Jeff
interchangeably
Su.
sometimes just to see.
I'm listening to Jeff Su, ne?
For example, I hate to mention exactly.
I'm almost done.
model numbers
Motogo
in these things because they go
Almost
out there
done.
super quickly.
EGDing
But
my
let's say
maths.
one came out with 4.5
My
stars,
EGDing my
it
motogo.
performed vastly better.
Are
in
you
my
feeling
opinion,
mathematical today or are you feeling physical?
I would not have known
We're doing both.
had I not used the same prompt.
Check out the community
Prompt.
section. I will be
The first
posting
sort of
this scan
use case,
files
I would actually
and then check out the
always
reels
try
as
to
well.
Put the same prompt in all three AI tools to see which one performs better, like at any given time. So that's number one. Number two, based on my 2-3 years of experience now, ChatGPT for 99% of people, because they're usually first to market when it comes to the latest models and the latest features. So they're like more than good enough. And the reason why I recommend that to most people is because there's an AI app with the most market share, right? So that's ChatGPT for most people. Google Gemini heavily in the Google Workspace ecosystem because the integration is just so good. Google Gemini is basically integrated well in every single Google product, from Gmail to Google Calendar to Drive. And
God, I'm a Google guy. We're a Google company. I feel like I need to get on Gemini. I need to have that like helping us. I'm really excited to ask you about that.
And I feel like if any Google is listening, they should consider sponsoring all of us. Either this podcast or you know.
Because I wasn't gonna say, but I'm really glad you brought it up.
Yeah, because we're using Gmail, Sheets for all of our money, like keeping track of all of our budgets and stuff.
Google Docs.
We're using
for
Google
the
Docs
notes?
for the notes for the pod.
So let's repeat Google Gemini a few more times.
Emails. That's where we host everything. Google Chat.
There you go.
Big
Google Drive.
Google Drive.
So if YouTube could surface this in the Google Gemini marketing team,
for the love of God.
that would be great, wouldn't it? Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
But Claude, last but not least, for sure, is my go-to for copywriting. So Claude, I'll be very honest, they're not great for ideation. I'd actually still rely on ChatGPT and Gemini for that, but they're absolutely fantastic at editing existing copy.
Do you feel like it takes away like the humanness of it all? Like I feel like a creator might be listening to this and they're like, that's awesome. You have all these amazing processes for using these platforms for your workflow. Do you feel like it hasn't do you feel like it's almost left a piece of you out of your content almost in a way?
Yes and no, if I'm being very honest. Are there times whereby I see an amazing output from AI and I'm like, Jesus, like this is better than anything I could have ever come up with. I want to put it out there, but it's not really me, you know? So there's those times. So I still do it, right? Because it's more effective, efficient or not. But at the same time, I realize the balance comes from knowing your boundaries, knowing exactly with your personal preference, where you draw the line. For me, that's the ideation part. I never let AI touch ideation simply because that's where I can inject my personality and point of view. And because that's like step one, right? Ideation, that my sort of point of view or my personality gets transferred all the way through to the end product, if that makes sense. So for me, I don't let AI touch ideation, but everything else is fair game as long as, it makes me more efficient. And honestly, I couldn't have grown my YouTube channel or my business to this size had it not been for AI as a solopreneur. It just would not have, it would have been impossible.
Like, what do you feel like you get to operate at using these platforms, employees wise or like team wise? What do you think it realistically would have to be if you had to hire all those roles, you couldn't use them at all? 10 people, 12 people?
I'd say 3 to 4 freelancers.
Okay.
Because so number one, I think one of the reasons I was able to grow relatively quickly with AI was able, like, to give a very concrete example, it was perfect for repurposing my content across so many platforms and generating something that's like 60, 70% there, requiring minimal sort of edits from me and just being able to output generally useful and valuable impossible.
Like, what do you feel like the Google content almost in a way?
Yes and no, if I'm being very honest. Are there times whereby I see an amazing output from AI and I'm like, Jesus, like this is better than anything I could have ever come up with. I want to put it out there, but it's not really me, So there's those times. So I still do it, right? Because it's more effective, efficient or not. But at the same time, I realize the balance comes from knowing your boundaries, knowing exactly with your personal preference where you draw the line. For me, that's the ideation part. I never let AI touch ideation simply because that's where I can inject my personality and point of view. And because that's like step one, right? Ideation, that my sort of point of view or my personality gets transferred all the way through to the end product, if that makes sense. So for me, I don't let AI touch ideation, but everything else is fair game as long as, it makes me more efficient. And honestly, I couldn't have grown my YouTube channel or my business to the size had it not been for AI as solopreneur. It just would not have. It would have been impossible.
Like, what do you feel like you get to operate at using these platforms, employees wise or team wise? What do you think it realistically would have to be if you had to hire all those roles, you couldn't use them at all? 10 people, 12 people?
I would say 3 to 4 freelancers.
Okay.
Because So number one, I think one of the reasons I was able to grow relatively quickly with AI was able, like, to give a very concrete example, it was just perfect for repurposing my content across so many platforms and generating something that's like 60, 70% there, requiring minimal sort of edits from me and just being able to output genuinely useful and valuable content based on my long form YouTube videos. I think that was just a massive unlock.
So if you were us and we have this 2-hour long podcast and we want to have a clips channel literally the day we get home from Hong Kong, what would be the platform that we should be using to optimize to be able to post 50 plus clips a month? Because I think that that's going to be a huge unlock for us. After we went out to dinner with Daniel Dalen, we had a really good dinner. We were chatting a lot about this. We've been talking to other people about making a clips channel just accelerating growth for us, because if you really think about it, it's really difficult to get someone to hang out with you for 2 hours. Much easier to get someone to hang out with you for 5 minutes, 2 minutes, 10 minutes. And I think that that'll get so much more time on brand, and then it'll end up growing the main pod. Because they might be like, I don't care about AI for 2 hours. But then they might see a clip and be like, oh, I'm going to give this guy a chance. I'll give him a chance. Because I just saw a 3-minute clip and he hooked my attention, and that was a very useful tip. And I feel a certain type of way about AI, but now I'll give you this guy a chance.
And for the past 4 years of us doing the podcast, it's become either a cash flow issue, having enough resources from a finance perspective of being able to invest back into the show, or us putting our own time and energy into it. And the podcast isn't our full-time thing. And so it's like we only have a certain amount of time and money that we can allocate. And I feel like AI could help us less time and not have to necessarily spend as much money to like hire 1, 2, 3 people to help us out with the show.
For sure. Well, first of all, I would say I love hanging out with you guys. 2 hours not enough, you know. So, so it depends, I guess, on who it is.
That's where we get lunch, dude.
Yeah.
Since this episode is all about AI, it feels right to bring up Artlist's new integration. Okay, in their platform. Used it for like storyboarding for my production company. So like if I found a photo online, I'm like, I want a GIF made out of this.
Yes.
I can put that photo in there and it just animate the GIF a little bit, which is so. Having a GIF, if I want something, I'm like,
Bintang, guys. Why are you guys so
Me
quiet?
some of the decks that you guys were making for some of
guys
these
are
big
quiet.
clients that you guys are pitching for, and the decks win the work, and you guys are crushing it with these decks.
It's a great implementation
Yeah.
as well. I mean, just banger music, because you guys know they got us.
They've
on-
been crushing that for years.
They got us on our code. Let's keep it going.
I'll be honest, I know this wasn't like, we didn't discuss this previously, but I love this question because, no offense, Braden, this is actually the trap most creators fall into right now. So let me just bring it back so everyone's on the same page. You're asking me, hey, if there's we have a 2-hour podcast, that's obviously very valuable because, you know, Jeff Sue is here.
Exactly.
Just kidding, I'm usually not valuable. That was a joke.
Talk your shit, Jeff.
And then you want like clips, right? So let me propose to you 2 initial thought experiments that I think most creators listening right now would probably be thinking. Well, number 1, you could go the manual route. You can hire someone for a decent amount, like a decent fee, and be like, hey, go through this 2-hour podcast, identify the clips whereby that would help us go viral. And your job is to not only pick those segments out, edit those, add captions, and just
Thumbnail.
edit, thumbnail, all that, right?
Title.
So that's option 1. Option 2, what the headlines, this goes back to headlines and hype. What the headlines will have you believe, they'll be like, there's a magical AI tool. Just throw your 2-hour podcast in and we'll generate 10 viral clips. Promise. All right. You're going to go be famous tomorrow. Okay. Both are not optimal. The second one, for obvious reasons, there's not going to find the right clips. And the first one's pretty time intensive. And you just said you have limited
Expensive,
resources
yeah.
and money, right? What I would propose is the best of both worlds. You ask a text AI chatbot, like let's say Claude, you feed in the transcript. Well, first of all, I have a YouTube transcript prompt that I can share you with you later. You throw the podcast in, use a prompt or Gemini Gem to clean it up into like a proper podcast, format. No, not proper podcast format, sorry. A proper written document with clean headers, right? For each section, okay? Because this is your base document you can use to repurpose for other things. So that's number 1. Then you feed that cleaned podcast transcript into another AI and ask, what are the viral segments?
90% of people.
And if you think about it, let's say you invest some time up front to create that custom GPT or GPT project, it takes just a few seconds just inserting that document in, right? And then outputting. And give me 20 segments whereby it would go viral, and score yourself and tell me why in one sentence, one log line, why that would go viral. Now, this third step is manual. You review that yourself because you know your audience best. You know what's going to be viral. You can course correct along the way. I'm going to use that keyword a lot this podcast. You course correct along the way. I'm like, oh, there's 20. There's 7 that's really good. Let's try these 7 first, right? And then now you've identified the segments. Okay, now we can think about, let's hire someone, or use our existing editor, hire someone at a cheaper rate to now create the clips. Or feed those clips into the AI platform that can generate the video, great, with the captions, sure. And that saved you maybe 30, 40% effort.
Yeah.
But that's the right way to use it. Because there's that human.
It's not the magic. It's
Yeah,
not a
no.
magic button. And I think that's what a lot of people think. I wasn't, for the record, I didn't think it was a magic button. All right.
Oh, no,
I see
come
what
on, yeah.
I see what you're saying though. So it's like it's saving us 30 or 40% more of the time.
Exactly.
Not a magic one-click fix. We still are going to need human intervention. Because at the end of the day,
Yeah.
you know it best.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
Okay, you talk about the 3 levels of using AI. We have curious, literate, and native. Can you walk us through those 3 levels and what each look like?
Yeah, so I'm going to refer to my notes just to make sure I'm not making stuff up.
Sure.
Broadly speaking, there are 3 levels, in my opinion. AI, like you said, AI curious, AI literate, AI native. So AI curious is where you use AI very sporadically, and you're probably not paying for AI.
Okay.
You're sort of reminded to use it when you see something that reminds you to use AI, or someone tells you, hey, AI is good for this, and you sort of try it out. That's like AI curious. AI literate is where you're definitely paying for at least one AI tool, like the subscription. So you know the difference between the basic chat models. For example, let's say Gemini Flash is the basic chat model, Gemini Pro is the reasoning model. ChatGPT like Auto or Instant is like sort of the basic, and then ChatGPT 5.1 Thinking is like the reasoning model. So you know the difference between the two. And you probably have a prompts database or a prompts library where you save and store prompts that you know have worked well for you and you will use again in the future. So that's AI literate.
We need some prompts, man.
Okay, so
yeah.
I want to pause right there because I feel like
We feel pretty good.
I feel quote unquote literate. And then we're watching some of your videos and you have all these prompts saved. And I almost feel like there's advanced literate in a sense where it's like the literate person almost knows, okay, I'm paying for ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini, whatever it may be. I'm using it. It's part of my workflow. I know how to use AI. But then there's like not even advanced, but it's like you have the prompts saved. You've taught Chat or Claude or Gemini how to do certain things, how to speak in your tonality. Or would you say that's even more in the advanced level?
So I would say when you say taught Gemini or taught AI to speak in your language or use your tone of voice, that by itself could mean many, many different things.
Okay.
So what you're describing is basically AI literate people as they get better
I see.
at using AI for specific tasks because of the experience.
I see.
So going back to what I said earlier about creating like say a custom GPT or a Gemini Gem, you realize, let's say 3 times after cleaning up a podcast transcript, you're like, wait, there's probably a better way to do this. You ask ChatGPT or Google AI mode, be like, hey, this is a problem I'm facing. Is there a way for me to like improve this process with AI? It teaches you, and you create the Gemini, your first ever Gemini Gem, for example, for the podcast transcription sort of workflow. That's just like the advanced literate I think you were talking about.
Yes.
Yeah, you just take it a step further and just keep optimizing. So that's, I would say, level 2.
Okay.
Like AI literate. AI native, I would say you're developing and maintaining AI native habits. And for example, I talk about this a lot. Number 1, using text expanders. So I'm screen recording. You guys can show this in B-roll later. But if I type in a keyword, this GPT concise clear, I'm not going to type the last letter. I'm just going to click R right here.
Bang.
It expands out, right? So the reason why this is such an important habit, I think, you realize, let's say 3 times after cleaning up a podcast transcript, you're like, wait, there's probably a better way to do this. You ask ChatGPT or Google AI mode, be like, hey, this is a problem I'm facing. Is there a way for me to like improve this process with AI? It teaches you, and you create the Gemini, your first ever Gemini Gem, for example, for the podcast transcription sort of workflow. That's just like the advanced literate I think you were talking about.
Yes.
Yeah, you just take it a step further and just keep optimizing. So that's, I would say, level 2.
Okay.
Like AI literate. AI native, I would say you're developing and maintaining AI native habits. And for example, I talk about this a lot. Number 1, using text expanders. So I'm screen recording. You guys can show this in B-roll later. But if I type in a keyword, this GPT concise clear, I'm not going to type the last letter. I'm just going to click R right here.
Bang.
It expands out, right? So the reason why this is such an important habit, I think, to develop is there's no way I would be using this exact prompt 20 times a day, which I do, if it were text expander is the best way to do it.
You have these memorized.
Yes,
These are locked.
They're like 10 to 15 I use almost daily that I memorized.
See,
Yeah. text banner is the best way. Text banner is the best way to do it. I'm not going to type the last letter. I'm just going to click R right here.
Bang.
It expands out, right? So the reason why this is such an important habit, I think, to develop is there's no way I would be using this exact prompt 20 times a day, which I do, if it weren't for text banners, right? So you want to decrease the friction of using AI as much as possible. Text banner is the best way to do it.
You have these memorized.
Yes,
these
exactly.
These are locked.
They're like 10 to 15 I use almost daily that I memorized.
See, I didn't even know, and I bet you most people listening to this podcast had no idea what a text expander even was, or that you could even integrate it into ChatGPT. How did you do that?
Yeah, so I'm personally using a tool called Alfred, and it's a paid tool. I think if you're looking for free options, there are a bunch of free alternatives. For Mac users, they can use something called Raycast and use a snippets feature. And for Windows users, they can use Beef Text. And I'm sure you guys will link this in the show notes below. And for me, because the text expander itself wasn't made for AI. For example, if someone asked if you're filling in a form to ship to your house, text expander, you can save your full home address using like : home address, right? And it expands out your home address. I just repurposed it for AI, and it's like a perfect use case. So that's how it came to be. Yeah.
And on this topic, I feel like what you put in, or like the prompts that you use, or like the verbiage you use when you talk to AI, you get a different response. Can you talk about, like, people know that they want to use AI and it can help them, but if you're not putting in the right words, or you're not prompting it correctly, you're not going to get the most out of the AI.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
100%.
Is the
And
Wi-Fi
the
slow?
easiest
That's
way around
or
this,
what?
it's actually a very
It's not
simple.
working
It's just a little bit
properly now.
tedious, so most people don't do it. I would say the easiest way to get better at AI is simply start off with the original prompt. Let's say, for example, hey, I'm going to be on a podcast with Braden and Costas for 505 Podcast. This is my channel. Help me prepare a strong self-intro. So that by itself will give me a usable maybe output, but it's going to be super generic. Versus I use that exact same prompt, and before it I say, hey, optimize this prompt for ChatGPT 5.1 or Claude 4.5 Sonnet, and give me the refined version. 95% of people will just immediately copy paste that refined prompt and start using it, whereby I think the smarter move is to read the refined prompt and see what the AI did. If you do this 10 times a day, in 2 weeks, you're gonna know exactly what a good prompt looks like, and it's gonna become second nature. So to your point about the right verbiage, you'll see exactly. So I prepared this ahead of time so we don't waste like any time on the podcast. So the draft prompt to refine is, I'm Jeff, I'm a YouTuber, I'm preparing for a podcast, blah, blah, give me a strong self-intro, right?
Okay.
And then the refined prompt starts with, role, you're a podcast speaking coach and messaging strategist. You help creators turn their background into concise, memorable self-introduction that sounds natural when spoken out loud. That sounds great, right? That sounds more precise than what I wanted before. And it just goes on. Context, objective, requirements. So even if you were a beginner, you realize, oh, that's interesting. What is a hashtag here? And why is there a hashtag before requirements? You might take the next step, look it up, be like, oh, it's much better to structure prompts in a certain way, which is going to give me a better output. That's a 1% improvement, right? And you do that every single day.
It's going to be
Yeah.
way, way, way better.
Exactly. So that's what I recommend all beginners do. Ask AI to improve your prompt, read through the prompt, do this 10 times a day. You're going to be better than 99% of people.
Yeah, I've even messed around with kind of like word vomiting. And then I'm just like, chat, if I want this, what's the better prompt for it? And I notice a big difference if you just ask the AI to help you with the prompt. I think that's like a huge key takeaway.
Yeah, we just had Dan Coe on the pod, and he was explaining to us how he's made, I think it was like 1,000 prompt document that he gave to us to give to our audience, to the community. Yeah, which is really sick. He did not have to do that at all. But I'm really excited. I hope people take advantage of it, because he was explaining to us just with anything that he's doing, whether he's starting a business, running a company, you know, there's so many different ways to pressure test what you're doing with something that has the entire internet at its fingertips in seconds, to be able to like stress test what you're doing and see what are the gaps in it and whatnot.
What do you think? What do you think holds people back from moving from, you know, beginner to intermediate to advanced, or from literate to native? Like, what do you feel like is a block from a mindset perspective or something else that causes people to maybe not want to take that next step, or just they don't take that next step because maybe it feels a little bit too difficult or like overwhelming?
So my hot take here is not, it's the AI company's fault, if I'm being very honest, because I think right off the bat, they were setting the wrong expectations and they were basically misleading users. So
We should blame Sam.
yeah,
I'm gonna call him.
exactly.
Sam
Not that he's
Altman.
having a rough enough, year, but no, we should definitely pile more onto Sam Altman. No, because every piece of marketing material basically says, hey, if you use our AI, it's magic. You input a simple sentence, click enter, and your problems are solved, right? So if and when people buy into that premise, they try AI, it doesn't give them what they expected, and they give up, right? They're like, okay, AI is shitty. I'm not going to use this anymore. Instead.